Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Joining me today is a very special guest, and you already see his name in the bottom right-hand corner right there. That is right. It's Larry Nance Jr. I'm super excited to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thanks again for taking the time to join me on such short notice. This right here, Larry, as I'm sure you're already aware of, is a big season for the Cleveland Cavaliers, with the Eastern Conference being what it is. And obviously you have a past, right, with this team. So I'm just going to ask you right off the bat, and I'm sure you've heard this question like 3,000 times since you've returned, but that's still not going to stop me from asking. And that's why Cleveland? Why the return now? Why did this make the most sense to you?
Um, for me, the most important thing was kind of twofold. One, the fit is, at least to me, the fit is perfect. Watching the playoffs the last 2 years, it was hard not to just kind of feel like, man, I feel like I can really fit in with this group of guys, with the way that the style of play, so unselfish. And I just think it's been a position of need for the last few years. I think I can provide some added physicality, contrary to when I played here before, I can add some, perimeter shooting and stretch the court a little bit from the big position, which is, something the roster hasn't had in a good little bit. And overall the fit to me just feels seamless. But then too, it's like, look, there's no hiding. I'm a Cavs fan. I grew up a Cavs fan. I'm going to be a
Yeah.
Cavs. I've been playing. I've been playing for other teams, and of course, while I was there, I wanted to win all 82 games for the Pelicans, the Hawks, the Blazers. But I'll tell you what, I also wanted the Cavs to win 80 of them as well. I am a me fan over the Cavs. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But but no, it's no matter where you go, you never lose the love that you have for your hometown team, and like you said, this being such a pivotal year, um, I wanted to take part in it and see if I can do my part in helping.
It's interesting that you say that, because we know with what's going on in the East, you have some big time injuries, right? The Cavaliers suffered some of their own during the playoffs, but as you look around the rest of the East, you have Tyrese Halliburton. That was terrible what happened to him in the finals and whatnot. You got Jason Tatum's injury, and you have a lot of roster shakeups with the Bucks, getting Miles Turner and some of these paradigm shifts in the Eastern Conference in general. And a lot of people are already pegging the Cavaliers to be the team that could potentially make it out of the Eastern Conference. And I think adding somebody like yourself, a very versatile player in his own right, certainly should keep things on the ascension. That is, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head in terms of the volume shooting. In terms of evaluating, that was one of the number one things that people were wanting out of the backup big position. And so, you hear from analysts and fans alike, as they kind of break down players, but you rarely hear players break themselves down and what their strengths are. So I'm going to ask you to put on your analyst hat here and just kind of tell me, what do you believe your biggest strengths as a player are? What does Larry Nance Jr. excel at?
It's funny. That's That's I've never actually been asked to describe myself as a basketball player. No, for me, like for me, I consider myself a bit of a chameleon, and I've always been that throughout my career. You know, I got drafted as an undersized power forward. I in Cleveland, I started at the three some, and now I play almost exclusively five. You know, last year, then at my year 31, going back down a position to play the some four and five. So I view myself as a player that kind of adapts to whatever the team needs. I guess that being like a jack of all trades. Look, the Hawks needed me to shoot more, so I spent that whole summer drilling my shot, and that's what I've been spending this summer on. What I'll continue to spend that on is increased mobility. You know, being able to switch on the perimeter. Um, Obviously, I'm a smaller big. You know, I'm not hiding from that. I'm 6'8" on a good day. But what allows me to play that way is defensive IQ, positioning, my wingspan. It all goes into it. You know, for me, I like to just describe myself as a winner, whatever that takes. If you need me to not, if we're gonna win and I don't have to play, I'm cool with that. But over the past few years, I've really kind of transformed my game into I would say caring a little bit more about the offensive end, and that's been that's been welcome.
The two biggest words that stood out to me and everything you just said is chameleon. Obviously, you morph into what the team needs you to do at any given moment, any given scenario, and then winner. Right? Doesn't matter what the role is, as long as you're contributing to winning, whether that be on the court, off the court, all of that type of stuff. That you love to hear that. That's a great way to view things, and especially as a veteran, right? So those are two things that I think people need to really listen to in terms of streaming this episode. But yeah, you said that you played predominantly at the five spot this year. I'm not sure if you're aware, but they actually track things like this, Larry. uh,
That's all over my head, man.
yeah. Cleaning the glass actually has you playing 62% of your minutes at center. So when I think of you at this point in time in your career, I view you mostly as a center, very, very mobile center at that is capable, versatile enough to play the four, sometimes the three if needed. And that added versatility is always something that is good to have anywhere on your rotation, let alone in the front court. So I got a question for you, just personally,
Mhm.
to the people out there, because you called yourself undersized. You said just 6'8" on a good day.
Yeah.
To the folks out there that have a problem with the undersized guys out there, even I mean, you're 6'8". I'm 6 foot on a good day, so you're much taller than I am. But for the people out there that question your ability to reliably play the backup five position, what would you say?
I would say that you should go back and look at the numbers. You see, I got some numbers of my own too. I've been, there are very few people I think over a decade long career that can say that they've consistently been a positive player. Um, in on my on my on off ratings, my box plus minus ratings, all the value ratings. I've consistently been a positive player at in whatever position I've been put, and that's something that I hang my hat on. Again, my numbers aren't going to be gaudy. I'm not going to be the guy averaging 15 and grabbing 10 rebounds. But I'll tell you what, like my guy ain't grabbing rebounds either. Um, so for me, look, there are online. I can find somebody that thinks I should have been the MVP one year. I can find somebody that thinks I'm in the NBA because of nepotism. Like I truly, I don't. You don't stay in the NBA for 10 years with not providing value. So I'm not too concerned about it. All in all, I just look. If it's the four I'm better at for this team, I'll play that. If it's the one I'm better at for this team, I'll play that. If it's the five, then so be it. I just I can, like I said, I'll blend to whatever is needed.
Awesome to hear. Next question for you. You've obviously over these last couple of seasons since you departed Cleveland the first time, You stood up for the Trailblazers, the Pelicans, the Hawks, and you played numerous roles on all these teams, whether that be as a starter, as a big bench piece, a mentor, a veteran playoff contributor. And you have appeared, at least, from the outside looking in, to embrace every single role that has been thrown at you. And obviously, I'm only a fan, right? I mean, I can only experience things from a fan perspective. So, talk to me a little bit about the pro side of things and what it takes from a mental perspective to be able to embrace whatever role a team or coach kind of throws at you.
It's to me, it's the test of being a professional. This is e- there are much more talented basketball players than me that didn't last in the NBA, that haven't gotten the opportunity to play in as many games that I've played in, be on as many teams that I've been on, and I think a lot of it comes down to professionalism. And with that word professionalism comes sometimes taking your lumps and keeping moving. Last year was one of the hardest years that I've ever had in my life because um I've never not played on any team I've been on. So being in that position and knowing that I deserve to, and that when I did get to play, I showed up and showed out. I thought,
You did, yeah.
obviously, I've got, I'm working with the clinic and working with our strength and performance people on staying as healthy as I can, and that's been the biggest emphasis for me. But I think it for me, it's just been rolling with the punches and just being grateful for the fact that I'm still in.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some level of professionalism to last this long in the NBA, right? 10 years. That is a big deal, dude. I mean, you've been in the league for over 10 seasons. You've played with guys like Kobe, Bron, Dame Lillard, Zion, Trey Young this most recent season, and many, many others. Is there one particular teammate that kind of stands out above the rest in terms of like your favorite?
Oh man, that's hard to say. My favorite teammate ever. I don't know. I wouldn't say just one. I mean, I've made a lot of really close friends that I wouldn't necessarily want to separate. Josh Hart and I got super close in L.A.
Mhm.
Ivica Zubats, him and I got close in L.A. Obviously, me and Caleb are super close. Numerous coaches, me and CJ McCollum got close. There's been a lot of guys that will remain in my life. And I wouldn't say that there's been one teammate that stands head and shoulders above the rest, but I've made some good friends in this league. That's for sure.
Do you believe that the NBA within itself, that there's validity in it being a fraternity? Like a lot of you guys are friends more often than not, because you hear so
Yeah.
much about how everybody's friends these days versus last, in NBA and previous generations, everybody hated each other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like if I if I just happen to be playing a pickup game and I didn't know the people,
Mhm.
sure, I want to win that one. But if my buddy, if I'm guarding my buddy, I have to win that one. You know what I mean? So like, I don't necessarily view all of us being friends as a bad thing. I see it as like, hey, a sign of mutual respect. Like, hey, man, I know what it took to get here. Good on you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't know. I think it's a good thing. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm one of the guys that's got a lot of friends and try to make try to form relationships while I'm here. So I think it's a good thing, and that's something that that's a strength of mine that I will be bringing the Cavs building.
Always love to have more of that. Tell me something that that veteran Larry Nance Jr. would tell to his younger self.
Oh man, gosh, so many things. Shoot the ball. For one. Two, care about the offensive end. No, but shoot the ball. But all in all, the biggest thing I would say is just cherish it. Cherish it. This thing is this. You worked your whole life to get here. Go to those dinners, go to the team events, talk. Meet as many people as you can meet, and really enjoy it. Because now sitting here at 32, it's like, man, I didn't even. I was a young Laker, and I didn't do nothing with it. That type of thing. Like I would have
That
encouraged
bother
me.
you at all?
I wouldn't say bother me. I'm so happy with my life and the way it turned out. My got two beautiful kids, and my wife is the greatest thing in my life. But it's I do wish that I would have taken her and gotten to go experience a little bit more.
Gotcha. Now you brought him up here when we lost coverage for a second, so I'm just gonna go ahead and reference him. Larry Nance Sr. Tell me at least one story that you got from dear old dad, man. One
Oh
NBA
man,
story.
one NBA story that I got. It was I'll say it was last year. Um, Last year, Dominique Wilkins is heavily involved with the Atlanta Hawks. Does their broadcast
Oh
and
yeah.
he's great. But I had never met him, never really spoke to him until I got to Atlanta. And one of the first times I ever met Dominique, my dad was actually with me. He had flown down and just came to come to see the grandkids. And being able to sit there on the sidelines and just listen to him and Dominique talk shit like it was 1988 again. And they were, man, you can't guard me. Are you kidding me? I'll pull you up top, and they were just. It was like you transfer 30 years time machine, just right
Does he
back
still
at
play? Does senior still play at all? Does he play
uh,
pickup?
golf. He plays golf. No, he doesn't play anymore. It's his back then they were playing on concrete and Converse. His knees are shot. His knees are shot.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear. Yeah. So in that same line of thought, this comes up so often, and it kind of it felt like it came to a fever pitch with Bronny, right?
Mhm.
Bron James Jr. and whatnot. So many people feel like a lot of these younger athletes that are children of former NBA stars and whatnot are only getting opportunities because it's a name. And I don't think people really understand how much work these individual players, how much work goes into what Bronny and other children of famous stars of yesteryear, for people who have ever questioned your standing in the NBA, what is your line of thinking in regard to that? Do you think people are given a bad rap just because they share a last name with somebody who played in the NBA?
I think there's two sides to that coin. I think a lot of our accomplishments are compared to our dads, or hey man, you only got that because you're a Nance. Um, but at the same time, like I also get it. That does exist. I have gotten certain opportunities because my last name is Nance. Being Larry Nance Jr. in Northeastern Ohio is, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah, it's a big deal.
growing up, I wasn't. I'm lucky Wyoming took me on a scholarship. I'm lucky Wyoming took me, and they took me because like this kid's 6'3", can't dunk yet, and like is a Nance. I'm betting on that. And so they gave me an opportunity based off of like the genetics. And now I then seized that opportunity, but at
Mhm.
the same time, like I was headed to real low Division 1 or Division 2 until Wyoming was just like, hey, that we'll bet on the genetics here. So I've gotten certain opportunities, but at the same time, the NBA isn't that opportunity. Maybe college, maybe if you transfer to a certain high school, but like the NBA is not the place for that, because you got to think about it. How many NBA players have kids? All Just
Yeah.
about all of them. And you can, there's a lot of there's the juniors aren't that there's not that many. So there's got to be a little bit of work and a little bit of skill into it. But again,
Thanks.
like I said before, I'll find somebody that thinks I should be the MVP. I'll find somebody that thinks I should never pick up basketball again. Neither opinion we can take seriously.
And that's an interesting way to put it. Thank you for picking that. I was trying to word that a specific way to not come
Oh, I
off.
got you. I got you.
Is there any? Do you have any like brotherly rivalry with Pete at all in this regard? And it's pretty awesome to see him, still trying to, make his way and make his own legacy at the NBA level.
Yeah, no, there's no rivalry. There is no rivalry. We're 7 years apart. We're 7 years apart, and it's not. I don't mean it like no. It's me. And no, I mean it like there's no rivalry because he wants the very best for me, and I want the very best for him. Like, getting to see him rise through, started really, not playing that much in the G League, and then to playing really well, and then to starting, and now he's on two ways, and now, hopefully we can see him make the jump from two-way to roster spot. And, it's been something that I've just really enjoyed, and anytime he asks for any kind of advice, it's a joy of mine to be able to help him along his career.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I was really, really excited to see him get the opportunity with Cleveland not long ago. And then I know that was kind of short lived, but that's gotta be pretty dope. Your
Yeah.
father, your brother, all being able to don the wine and gold at different points in your tenure. I kind of want to shift things to a basketball perspective because I feel like that's a in regards to podcasts, not enough people dive into the actual specifics of the game itself. Now, you're coming to the Cavaliers at a point, and you already discussed this, where right there is a positional need. Like this team needed a somebody that could come in and reliably contribute 15, 20, 10 minutes per game off the bench in not only the regular season, but a playoff level atmosphere. In terms of the experiences that you have on court, what do you think is going to be the biggest skill that you can provide out there? Is it the perimeter shooting? Is it the rebounding? Is it the defense? I know you've kind of made it a point to work on the offensive side of basketball right now, but what is the biggest thing that you feel like you are bringing to the court?
The biggest difference I think I can make on this team, I don't, I think I'm willing to admit I don't know yet. I haven't been in the gym with the guys. These guys won 64 games. So for me to sit here and be like, no, I'm the kind of player that's going to take you to 68 is unrealistic. You know what I mean? Like 64 wins is an awesome, unbelievable season. And look, if I'm so fortunate enough to be on the team while they do that again, I'd love to take part in that. But I think, and I hope the way the guys are thinking is the 64 win season doesn't mean anything if or doesn't mean much if we can't progress. And I'm hoping that my biggest contribution, you know, won't be seen in the 64 games. I'm hoping that my biggest contribution comes in the 16 wins that follow. And that's the goal.
Man, yeah. I think that's like from fans, right? Again, I can only speak from a fan perspective. That is, I think, the mindset of the everyday casual Cleveland Cavalier fan. It's like, okay, we've seen these guys do enough during the regular season. We need to see them take these continual steps forward, whether that be getting past the second round, whether that be getting or making the finals, even if they lose, right? A lot of people, a lot of fans that I've spoken with, talked to, conversed with, echo those sentiments. And no, the regular season doesn't matter as much as the postseason in terms of like the end result. Now, I'm a big proponent of enjoying the journey because I thought last year was phenomenal. Right, we saw so much happen. Whether that be the elevation of Ty Jerome, whether that be getting a real true big wing in house in DeAndre Hunter, whether that see other guys make leaps like Evan Mobley did, and we're
Mhm.
already hearing so many things from Kenny Atkinson and company about the potential that he has. Um, for me to hear you say that, that's a big deal because from a pros perspective, that's what you want to hear. It's not just about not just about the regular season. It's about getting to that championship, and I think that's where we're all itching to see this team. Now, I had to ask you this. I have to ask you this because it's all over sports media right now. There's LeBron of it all. What do you make of these LeBron rumors?
It's funny because I live relatively close to him,
Mhm.
and it's we've every now and again we just kind of like take a peek to see if there's like any movement, any
Any
movement.
moving truck down there? Yeah.
I don't know anything. I wish I did. I'm just like I'm sitting here like a Cavs fan, kind of going like, man, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, but who can blame? You know, like, it's easy to get wrapped up in it, and that's some of the fun of the off season, and you know why we love the NBA so much is it's the best reality TV show there is. Um, it's all the drama and all the tune in next week to see where Bron. You know, it's like it's the
Mhm.
best. Um, but I've definitely been following it, and I've been plotting and scheming away with my wife. Like, man, it does make a lot of sense. But who knows?
Yeah, you never he plays a lot of things close to the vest and in the same line of thought about Bron. Now you were here, right? The last time that he was in town, his final season, and you got to play big minutes during that playoff run and the finals. Are those things, those experiences that you had during even that point in your career, are those things that you still carry with you today?
Oh man, yeah, that specific experience is one that uh, I care is was a major factor in the decision to come back. Um, Major factor. I've spoke on it before, but we had just I got drafted to the Lakers, and it wasn't we weren't a winning program. We weren't a winning team yet. We were all so young and building, and hadn't quite grasped what it meant to win at the highest at a high level yet. And I just feel like I fell short of what was required of me for that team. You know, and that's burned me up since. This is my team. For my I fell short for my team, and that hurts. That hurts, and it's been something that I've been every off season has been like, man, I got to get back to that point. I got to get back there. I got to get back there. And I didn't know I'd have an awesome chance like this with the same team, but now that I have that chance with the same team, like that's all that's running through my mind right now. It's being used as motivation. It's being used as like, man, very few people get a chance to rewrite their history a little bit, and that's something that I would love to do. I feel like I wasn't necessarily ready for the playoffs or the moment, or that team at that point, but I'm excited. I'm ready for this moment, ready for this team, and ready to do whatever they need me to do to get there again.
And I'm sure that was a big reason why they brought you in because there were so many people, whether it be analysts, fans, pundits, questioning their mental toughness, questioning whether or not some of the younger players on the roster were truly ready to win. I mean, Donovan Mitchell didn't face a lot of those questions, but Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, unfortunately, a lot of these guys have gotten that criticism, have been facing that adversity. Um, what advice do you think, or have you already shared with them in regard to some of those experiences and being able to learn from the losses and the failure?
Well, unfortunately, basketball culture is to detract.
Yeah.
We just that's just what basketball fan culture is to detract. Like, oh well, he only did it because, or well, they haven't. And again, you can find somebody that thinks we're going to finish first in the East. You can find somebody that thinks we're going to finish last. Neither opinion matters. The only one that matters is what's in the room. And so I think I think you know I think I think they've got a good grasp on that, and a lot of the criticism, in my opinion, is unfair because you look at some of the teams that have won championships, like Denver didn't just race to the finals. Milwaukee didn't race to the finals. Boston didn't race to the finals. They lost in the first round. They lost in the second round twice. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, success isn't linear, and this is a team that has taken their lumps but paid their dues, and just like any team that gets over the hill, like it's a progression. OKC, we saw them get over the hill this year. They didn't get there last year. It was a disappointment. Certain people question their players and whatnot, but not this year. There are success isn't linear, is what I would have to say.
Yeah, I mean, they all of those teams went through failure to
Yeah.
finally break through and get to that successful point, and that's something that happens in life too, right? Not everybody is gonna have a straight path that leads right to directly to success immediately. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time and for you to go through those experiences and build upon that. And I think hopefully that's what this team is building towards. Now, Larry, I hate to categorize you this way, but you're now the grizzled veteran in the room, right? In the locker room, and you have a lot of young talent on that roster. Some guys really trying to make names for themselves, and we just saw that at Summer League. The team just drafted Tyrese Proctor. He looks promising. Jalen Tyson is a first round pick from last year. Looks like he has a lot of promise. My guy Naquan Tomlin, I'm really hyped, excited about him. Um, you with the experience that you have, obviously you've played with big time stars, you have been a playoff contributor, you have been that reserve, you've been a guy unfortunately that has had to sit on the bench and wait his turn at points during your career, and this is all things and experiences that all of these young players are either currently experiencing or going or are rather going to have to go through this season and beyond. What would be the biggest piece of advice you think you could give to a young player like that that's just trying to make a name for himself?
Oh man, that is a question that you can't answer. You can't answer in a blanket statement. Naquan may need something different than Jalen Tyson. Jalen Tyson may need something different than Tyrese Proctor. These guys are, you know, not everybody's on the same path. Not everybody needs the same thing. And again, I have been fortunate. If there's I have been incredibly fortunate to have lived a lot of lives in the NBA. I've lived a lot of lives and seen and been and done quite a bit. So I like to think that I have a nice Rolodex of knowledge to fall back on for whatever these guys may need. But being the the gray haired veteran here now, that is something that I really look forward to is pouring time and energy into the younger guys and again, like I said, I have nothing but I know what it takes to get here. I have nothing but respect for the guys that get here, and honestly, my wish for all these guys is to when I'm sitting on my couch 9 years from now, 8 years from now, being able to look at those guys and be like, man, they've been in for a decade already. That's pretty good. I think that's kind of my viewpoint with all that is success for me is helping these guys last and teaching them staying power.
Do you think that there are certain individuals in the league that because, a new and upper comer, it might be coming to steal some minutes away from 'em? Do you think that certain players may be reluctant to assist and trying to, aid and further the development of some of the younger prospects? Or do you think by and large that everybody's willing to lend a helping hand?
I would say by and large, most guys are willing to lend a helping hand. I came in and pretty cool. Brandon Bass was one of my vets. Roy Hibbert was one of my vets. Then I got you guys. Got Timofey Mozgov from you guys. Like these guys were kind of on their way out, and were I was stealing their minutes, and they shared and shared and shared their information with me, and that's something that I'm not really sure what goes on at other teams and other locker rooms. I can only help what goes on in locker rooms that I'm a part of, but I try to make sure the guys that have been around, a guy like Jarrett, who is just, again, by everyone's regard, just the best guy and the best professional. Like, these guys you need to hear from him. My advice may be different than his. Your path may be similar to his. You might want to hear what he has to say. But, you know, for the most part, I think these guys are really willing to share. There's a huge respect level to even make it here, and the sacrifice is made. So if you get here, it's a brotherhood. Welcome in, and here's my wealth of knowledge. Do better with it than I did, and hopefully so on and so forth.
That's awesome. That truly is. Um, this team, this team as currently constructed, you have so many guys that appear willing to, make that sacrifice, whether that be, taking less touches, as Jarrett does, most often, more often than not, being the fourth or fifth option in that starting lineup, knowing that he damn well capable of doing more than he usually gets the ball to do. Or Darius Garland, right, taking a step back, or Donovan Mitchell doing much the same as he did last year to prop up a player like Evan Mobley, who appears to have like like otherworldly potential on both ends of the floor. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard this recently, Larry, but Kenny, like he's been gushing over the potential that Evan Mobley has. Do you buy into the fact or the idea that Evan has like MVP level potential?
I mean, I don't necessarily have to buy into it. I've played against him. You know what I mean. I've played against him. There are certain guys that just there are certain guys that you just while you're going out your throughout your offensive possession, you just kind of have to have a tracker on in the back of your head because like you get near the rim and you need to know where he's at. So yeah, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think Evan is, I wasn't fortunate enough to get to play with him. I was on my way out as he was on his way in, but getting to play against him, yeah, I mean, he's a force. He's someone that you got to really keep track of, and the one thing I would just hope for him, and I know, I would hope that we can see, yeah, I can help get more out of is being just more demonstrative. There are no
Yes.
passive MVPs. And so I would love to see him. I would love to see him be able to help him. Like, look, our careers are drastically different, but one thing that we share similarly is like, look, my offensive motivation, my offensive determination was something that I learned later in my career, and maybe you know uh, that's something that maybe I can help him learn early in his career, so he doesn't have to deal with the same things I did. Again, he's work our careers are drastically different. My man is just awesome, but little tidbits here and there, I think, would really be welcome.
That is like the number one thing. If you polled Cleveland Cavaliers fans right now, like vocality, they want to see him be more vocal. They want to see him call for the ball. Donovan Mitchell has expressed this recently, like, "Hey, if I'm not getting the ball to you, make sure that I'm seeing you. Make sure
Mhm.
that you're asking, call for the ball and whatnot." I think a lot of people would hope for that to be the case this upcoming season. I got three more questions for you, and then I'll let you go, man.
Yeah,
Number
no
one,
worries.
um, toughest matchup throughout the entirety of your career? Who's the toughest player you've ever defended?
Jokic, pretty easily, pretty easily. I would say, Carmelo, New York Carmelo was really hard. Sacramento DeMarcus Cousins was um, a man amongst boys. Me being the boy, and then, but Jokic. There's been some times where he's your matchup. Like, hey, if I'm at the center position, he's at the center position. You don't even end up guarding him because he does so much of his damage in the in betweens. He
Right.
scores on your defense, not just like you. I'm gonna go get a bucket on you. It's not really that too often. He just exploits the seams and the schemes that your defense is running, and it's unlike anything we've really ever seen from somebody in that position. So for me, he's my favorite player in the NBA. I think he's pretty special.
That's cool to hear. You have a favorite player in the NBA. I'm sure. I'm not.
I,
I
ta- I
haven't
take I
heard
take
that.
it back. I take it back. Pete's my favorite player. Jokic is second.
Larry had to cover his bases there,
Had to.
guys. Yeah, not trying to have any issues. Next question for you, man. Now, all the live long day fans can like look up stats, like, hey, Larry Nance Jr. scored 30, 30 plus in this specific game, and we remember it for different reasons or whatnot. But do you have one game like over the course of your career that like sticks out and stands out in your memory, whether it's a win or a loss?
Mm, one game that sticks out. Yeah, I would say one early in my career. With that Laker team, we didn't have much success. We were all growing and learning, but we did beat that 73-9 Warriors team on our home court pretty brutally, and that to me was a pretty special day because that's in my opinion the best team to ever exist, and
Yeah.
to say, hey, I was one of those nine losses felt it's pretty cool. Um, and then there was there was one. Man, I think it was game one of the Toronto playoff of 2018 Toronto
Yeah.
playoffs. Maybe game one or game two. It was in Toronto. I don't remember right. Um, and there was I didn't even play. I don't even think I played in the game, but it was the first time I was able to kind of sit back and be like, man, I'm from Akron. I grew up. I got to see Bron play at St. Vincent St. Mary and follow his career. So the fact that like I got to see this performance by him and why it was so special to me was the degree of difficulty of shots. He was hitting these turn fades. He hit maybe 5 or 7 in a row, and just the demoralization that it had on everyone in that stadium. It was one of the it was one of the most impressive things I'd ever seen. And it was just the first time I was able to sit back and be like, man, this is unbelievable. So that um those two, and then of course I was a part of the Kobe 60, and that's hard to top.
Yeah, that definitely would be. Yeah, LeBron, right? LeBronto, that's what it's been coined. I'm sure you're aware, but watching LeBron in particular that season, that playoff run, that was like some of the most spectacular basketball, just as a fan, that I have ever seen. That might have been peak LeBron in terms of, like, singular playoff runs. And I know that he was excellent during the championship run, him and Kyrie and whatnot, a number of others on that
Mhm.
roster that had big time roles in bringing the finals, or the championship to Cleveland rather. But 2018 LeBron in the final in the playoffs, just absolutely ridiculous, absolutely crazy. Now, last question that I have for you is one that I've always kind of wondered, and every time I've talked to a pro on here, I've kind of tried to ask this question. I've gotten various answers. From a statistical standpoint, do players set, or I'm not even gonna say players. Do you have you ever set statistical benchmarks for yourself or over the entirety of a season, like you absolutely want to hit?
Um, I think when I look back throughout the course of my career, I think that's a mistake of mine. I never did. For me, it was never about I didn't care about what I averaged, any of that. It was more so, for me, it was just like, hey, look, what do we need? How do I win? Winning, winning, winning. That's what all this is about. And I think in that I got lost a little bit in bettering myself to help us win. And
Mhm,
so, no, I never did, but that's something that I would encourage for the younger player. And I don't mean like, hey, I want to average 15 points a game, because
mhm.
there's 4 guys max on a roster that could even do that.
Right.
It's you don't even get the opportunity. I would encourage like, hey, you know, look at your when I'm on the court, I want to this many steals, I wanted this many deflections, I want, really drive yourself towards the things that matter to you. For me, it was winning. I didn't set those benchmarks of like, no, that I have to be in the X percentile of this. But hey, when I'm in there, whenever I check in, I need to my per 36 and rebounds need to be at this level. My man can't get offensive rebounds. Certain things like that. I would encourage that.
That's dope. Yeah. Do you have a benchmark that you want to set in terms of that 3-point shooting? Because I mean, you shot a career best this year. Are you trying to hit a specific number of threes this year?
I wouldn't say hit a specific number, but for me, it's about getting the volume up.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
2 years ago I shot 42% from three. Last year I shot 45% from three, and it's something that hopefully in a perfect world I would come regress a little bit and shoot if I could shoot in the low 40s on a higher volume. That would be the goal. Um, it's but again I can't I'm a little bit reserved in setting goals right now because I don't I'm still kind of waiting to know how I best fit in with this group.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Have you actually gotten to? Has anybody reached out to you? Any of the current players?
Yeah, yeah. DG was just in last week. I spent some good time with him. Obviously, me and Max are friends. Me and Sam, and a bunch of the other guys. It's been fun. It's been fun reconnecting with a lot of them. Again, I know everyone. I've played with everyone. I mean, even DeAndre Hunter, who came over last year, we were teammates for 6 months. So,
Yeah.
it feels like it'll be a good fit into the locker room, and it's been really fun hearing from the guys, and just the general organization, my friends that I haven't gotten to see in a while. So it's been a great reception, and I'm really just thrilled to be home.
Well, man, we are thrilled to have you back in town. I know I talked it up. I'm glad that we finally get to see you don the wine and gold once more. I appreciate you for taking the time once more to hop on with me, guys. As I always tell you, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to reach out, you know how you do it. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot. I said review to it's Cavalier53 at gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. Go Cavs.